Hello, 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 friends, family, folks on LinkedIn, folks on Facebook. We're right now broadcasting on my personal LinkedIn page, as we always do. We also are live on the My New Philly Facebook page. So super excited to reach a huge audience here in Philly. And it's April. A lot of things are going on right now. It is Autism Acceptance Month, but a lot of folks don't know it's also Diversity Month, and I have a really interesting guest who's going to chat with us about diversity. But yeah, don't want to waste any time. Want to get right into it. So again, welcome with Zoomin with Zack. Welcome back to another episode of Zoomin with Zack. It is April 27th, and it is beautiful outside. I tell you, if I had a little more time, I was considering doing a setup outside, but I've been busy. It's been a busy week. It's actually been a very busy month. If you notice, I didn't do one of these for the last week and a half or so. Not because I didn't want to or didn't have people that were ready to do it. It's just that I've been swamped. And such is life. Being busy is a good thing, and I count my blessings. So again, glad folks are watching. Please feel free to share this live feed. Feel free to comment throughout if you have questions for our guest. If you just love the discussion, feel free to just drop a comment in the drop your thoughts in the comment section. It's always appreciated. But I want to get right into it. I have a really awesome guest. We go way back. I'm gonna tell a little story about how we met each other. But first, I just wanted her to say something, just in case you guys can recognize who it is. So, special guest, you got some words for the people?
Yeah, I think you gave a little clue, Zach, when you said that it is National Diversity Month. So hopefully people can guess who it is.
She is a champion of diversity and a good friend of mine since I moved back here to Philly. I'm excited to introduce you all to Daralyse Lyons. Daralyse, what's up?
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Zach. And hello to all the people on LinkedIn and Facebook and all the socials.
Awesome. Now, I was telling people I was going to give them some background. So me and you go way back. We met when me and Kyrie, my homie, and actually my cousin, at My New Philly. We didn't know we were cousins till like a year or two ago. But we were producing a commercial for Polyod, which folks in South Philly will remember. It's like limoncello, a very sweet woman that has a shop down there, and we were doing this commercial for her. We filmed it at the movie theater on 69th Street, and I reached out to Glenn. I want to say,
I think Bernard. Yep, Bernard.
Yep. I get his name mixed up. Bernard. He's an acting coach. And I reached out to him. I said, I need some actors. I need them to be able to work really cheap because I don't have a huge budget, but if they want to be in a commercial, I'd love to have them. And you were one of the 4 actors that actually came for the shoot. And that's when we met. And that had to be like 5 years ago or close to it.
I forgot that's how we met, Zach.
Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah,
I met you through your acting career and then quickly learned about your career as an author and as a yogi and as a public speaker. And we grew a great relationship, and I got a chance to work on your website, daralyselyons.com. And we've been friends ever since, working on some really cool projects you have. And I'm excited to tell folks about the latest project because I actually became a business partner of yours in this venture. So before I go even deeper down that line, I'll let you do a little bit of explaining of who you are, what you do, so the folks can get to understand. And you'll see how the tying with Diversity Month works really well here. So I'll let you take that part away.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So my name is Daralyse Lyons. I am sort of colloquially known as the transformational storyteller because I believe that the stories we tell ourselves and others have the power to transform our lives. I do a lot of work in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I'm one of the co-creators of the Demystifying Diversity podcast. And Zack, you mentioned that you're a business partner in that venture. And so, yeah, I mean, it's it's beautiful. I feel like I get to fall in love with people for a living, and I get to hear the stories of others and just really, really learn a lot about the human capacity for resilience and forgiveness and love and strength and the beauty of all different races, body types, ethnicities, genders, sexual orientations, disabilities. Yeah, I am so grateful that I just get to meet different people from all stratospheres of life on a daily basis and learn more about what it is to be human, and how to kind of use our differences to come together as opposed to pull each other apart and ourselves and the fabric of society apart. So yeah, it's fun work and inspiring and humbling.
Awesome. And definitely kudos to you. I wasn't never a closed-minded individual, but I would say when I used to just think about diversity in general, my mind always went first to black and white. That was kind of the first thing that popped in my mind. And, kind of second was, LGBTQIA. And then I started to learn a little bit more about neurodiversity and folks, that are on the spectrum. And that was kind of my wheelhouse. It was those three areas that was diversity in my mind. And since working with you, I really got to understand all the different complexities and variations of diversity and what that really means. And of course, this past year, the focus on, DEI initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, both in corporate, in scholastic, in every different field, a lot more energy and efforts being put into this because we're trying to make this country, more cohesive and as one versus divisive. So I think the work that you started was so impactful with allowing people to learn about diversity sort of in this safe space. That's really what attracted me to want to get on board with it. So I'll make sure I throw this up there so folks can check it out. Again, it's the Demystifying Diversity podcast. And tell me a little bit about the season one, because I know we're working on season 2 now, but can you give us a quick overview of season 1 before we hop into our 3 questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for that. And I will say that season 1 is available anywhere that you get your podcasts. So definitely check it out. Season 1 looks at 10 different topics pertaining to diversity. And so I mentioned some of the topics that we dealt with, but we definitely talked about biracial identity. I'm biracial, have spent my whole life living in the spectrum between black and white, that rainbow of colors, and embracing all the fullness of my racial and ethnic identity. So that was sort of the kickoff episode. And then we dealt with a lot of different areas and intersections of identity. So we dealt with the Muslim American experience and Islamophobia in the media. We talked about anti-Asian violence in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. We spoke about neurological disabilities and kind of what that looks like, and interracial marriages. We did an episode on body diversity. We did an episode on police officers of color and what that experience is like and feels like. We did something about LGBTQ identity, and I'm also a member of that community. I'm bisexual and biracial, so I'm like bi squared, I'm really comfortable being in between spaces. And so we did that episode and a couple others. And so really, I think about diversity as such a beautiful spectrum of human difference and intersection. And I think that the more that we focus on diversity as binary identities, right? Like you're either this or you're that, you're there or you're here. We're not seeing the overlap in the intersections and the spaces for connection. And so I think it's so important that every single one of us learn and grow from people that are like us and people that we might think are not like us. And so that's where I spend a lot of time engaging in critical ways and learning and growing and realizing, just how much I don't know. And most of my work is asking questions I don't know the answer to communities that I am not a part of, and amplifying those voices. So yeah, it's really a beautiful experience in season 1. You'll find yourself reflected in some of the stories and experiences there, and you won't find yourself reflected in some of the experiences and stories there. So I highly encourage people to go check it out.
Awesome. Again, I'll throw it up there so folks see the Demystifying Diversity podcast. Again, you can go to the website designed by yours truly. And make sure you check it out on all listening platforms. It's not just those four on the screen. Those are just the ones that I like the most. But you can find it anywhere. So we really hope you guys give a listen. So let's get into it, Daralyse. It's time for the three questions, three random questions on Zoom In with Zack. So what I need you to do is give me a 3-digit number. All the numbers have to be different. And I'm going to give you a question that corresponds with each number. I think this is a great way for our LinkedIn community to get to know who you are before they reach out to you. So I got some fun questions here, but you're going to randomly pick which ones you want. So give me your 3-digit number.
Okay, I will pick 248.
This is the first time I've done this in ages because I don't have a piece of paper near me. So I actually wrote 248 on my hand. So that's how we're going to remember it.
Throwback to middle school, right? Like
right.
Yeah.
So here's question number 2.
Okay.
What skill set did you gain or improve during quarantine?
Oh, gosh. Wow. Well, I believe in leading with vulnerability. So I will just say that I am the worst hobby person ever. I tried to take up all these different hobbies from, art to knitting to all these, and finally just gave it up. So I think the skill set that I gained and improved would be probably, I would say, self-care. I mean, I really started to realize towards the end of last year that I couldn't just work myself to death throughout quarantine. I needed something else. And so I've really started more spiritual practices. I've started connecting with friends in deeper ways via phone and Zoom. And so I would say that, yeah, just like plugging into my spiritual center and getting back to that and back to myself, which is something that I didn't really have to do so much before, because I always just worked and then I would be social and then I would work and then I would be social, and that would be how I would reset. And so in the absence of all that socialization, realizing like, oh, I can't just work all the time. So right. I would say that's a skill set that I improved, but really my awareness was heightened during quarantine. And so now I'm probably going to have to spend the rest of my life working on that as a skill set.
I got you. And that's actually that's a great one. I'm working on doing better self-care myself. As you know, I'm a workaholic and I'll work throughout the day. I'll work in the evenings. I'll work on the weekends, and I'm doing a little bit better at checking myself on that and spending more time, caring for myself. It's very important. So I'm glad that was what you threw out there to the people. Number 4 we have is your next question. Let's go there. Number 4, what's one of the biggest hurdles you've overcome or didn't overcome, and what'd you learn from it?
Yeah, wow. So people who know me and know my story know that I have suffered from a debilitating eating disorder. I've been anorexic and bulimic and a compulsive overeater since I was 14 years old. And so that is probably one of the hardest things in my life that I've ever had to contend with. And I've been institutionalized 16 times for inpatient eating disorder treatment, almost died. And so really, dealing with what it is to be a person who has an eating disorder. And, thankfully I'm in a good place with it today. Like, thank God, that I'm in a good place, but it hasn't been a continuous or linear process. And so I would say that it's a big hurdle that, yeah, I've overcome, but also it's still something that is going to be with me, for the rest of my life, and something that I have to kind of engage with and be present to. And today, thankfully, I don't have those urges. I don't think in that way, but all the stuff underneath that drove it are things that I'm going to need to deal with forever, as long as I'm lucky enough to be alive.
Right.
And the second part of the question, like, what have I learned from it? It's really humbling to spend my life and my work falling in love with other people and engaging deeply with them. And so I've learned that, I too am a lovable person, and that I don't always see myself in that way. And I just think about the hurt that we perpetrate against other people and the hurt that we perpetrate against ourselves. And I really believe that all of that comes from not honoring, who people really are, and not
Mhm.
like embracing them as they are. And so for me, it seems much easier to really honor other people as they are than to honor myself. But that's something that I've learned that I really need to do. And I've learned too that you can't fight hate with hate. Like, I tried so hard to overcome my eating disorder by beating myself up mentally and physically and emotionally, and it didn't work. And I had to, at the end of the day, kind of embrace love and let that in. And so I really take that into my diversity work and try not to operate from a place of shame or blame or rage or hatred, but really try to encourage, like, okay, well, what can you love about this person that you think is so different than you? How can we, let's start there. What can you find in terms of commonality? And so, I think that having an eating disorder probably informs and being in recovery from it informs everything that I do, because it can't not. It's been such an enduring part of my life and my experience.
Wow. First of all, thank you for sharing. Leading with love is what I kind of tease people with originally in my my post, and now I guess they kind of see why. So again, thank you for sharing that, Daralyse. I think we'll need to cut this part out and share that with a couple different communities. I think should hear that message. We're getting towards the end of our time, so we're going to wrap up with our last question, which I believe you had. Let me look at my hand. 8.
Okay.
Yes. This one could be interesting. What does your ideal work day look like?
Oh gosh. Well, so I am so lucky in that my work is as diverse as I am and as diverse as the things that I do. So some work days it looks like just writing in isolation and seclusion for most of the day. Sometimes it looks like interviewing people back to back to back. It looks like meeting with you and our other business partner, Anna Marie. I would say I'm living my ideal work life and work days, which is that there's so much diversity. One day doesn't look like the next day, doesn't look like the next day. And I'm really just, I'm connected with the things that I love. So I'll say that in my ideal work day, whatever that looks like, I think the 3 components that it needs to have are interacting with other people. So I love that. Writing by myself, because I love that. And then service, like there has to be a service component. So I would just say if those 3 things are present in my workday, then it's an ideal workday, whatever it looks like.
That's awesome. And I think I just saw a comment come in. Yep, there she is. Hey, Anna Marie.
Hey, shout out to Anna Marie.
Right. So this has been great. Thank you so much, Daralyse, for sharing. I want to, of course, tell folks again, check out the Demystifying Diversity podcast. We're going to be signing off here. Of course, if anyone needs to reach out to me, I'll throw my contact info at the bottom of the screen. I too love meeting with folks, and of course, love helping people grow their brands. So if you want to have a consultation with me about any sort of business growth strategy or tool, you can reach me at info@rebelhillconsulting.com. Let me see here. Oh, we rock. Yeah, nice, Anna Marie. I like that. So I'm going to step away. I'm going to let you close the show and speak to the folks. But again, thanks everyone for watching another episode of Zoomin with Zack.
Yeah, thanks so much. Wow. Okay, so it is all me. And I'm just going to say that I'm so grateful to have been here and shared this time with people. And I love that Zack brought up leading with love earlier. And I would just encourage people to do one loving thing for themselves and for someone else today, whatever that looks like. Just do one loving thing for yourself and for someone else. And then let me know how it goes. You can reach me at daralyselyons.com or demystifyingdiversitypodcast.com, because I really believe that, that healing, integration, inclusion begins from a heart space, right? Not a head space. So I would say that would be what I would leave you with.